So let's take a look at the brand new Monster Hunter Rise demo that just recently dropped on the Nintendo Switch. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a Monster Hunter fan at all, so take everything that I'm about to say as a grain of salt. However, I have been watching a lot of coverage on the internet from other YouTubers and other gaming websites about Monster Hunter Rise, and I do kind of want to give my 2 cents on this game. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush here. All I'm going to say is this game is so freaking impressive. I already have this game on pre-order, believe it or not, just because this game, like I said, blew me away to begin with. And honestly, that's a pretty big shocker for myself because for some reason, Monster Hunter never really clicked with me to begin with. I have tried games like World and Generations, but those games, for some reason, never really fit me as a person, and I never really ended up liking those games. But for some reason, this game is blowing me out the water, and that's literally an understatement. I cannot stress how much of an understatement that is. This game is just freaking impressive, and it's just an amazing game overall. Now, when it comes to the demo itself, there are a couple of things to take notice of. First and foremost, this demo does have a play limit, I think, of 30 tries, and after 30 tries, you can no longer play the demo. And then another thing to take note of, this demo, I think, does expire at the beginning of February, so you only have a couple of weeks to download it if you want to try this demo out. So download this as soon as possible. And then also, this demo is pretty nice because you can play solo or you can play multiplayer. You can play local multiplayer, you can play online multiplayer, and the online multiplayer for the demo is very nice because you can play with random strangers or you can play with people on your friends list if you have friends with a Nintendo Switch to actually try this demo. So sit back, relax, and hear me talk a lot about Monster Hunter Rise because I have a lot to talk about. Now, you can see also you do have an option to pre-order the game. And really quickly, there are 3 different versions of this game you can pre-order at the very moment. One is actually going to be the base game, which is just $60 if you just want the standard edition. But then you can also get a deluxe edition on top of that, which is $70, and it gives you a whole bunch of bonuses in games like alternative costumes and just different things in the game to enhance your experience. And then you can also get a collector's edition, which the collector's edition comes with everything the deluxe edition comes with, but on top of that, you do get collector's items, which is pretty nice. And that one, again, is $99. So again, you have 3 different versions of this game: a $60 version, a $70 version, or a $99 version, depending on how much of a Monster Hunter fan you actually are. So let's go ahead and just go into a solo, and let's actually talk about the different modes in the demo. Now, first and foremost, of course, you do have 2 different monsters you can slay. You can slay the Great Azuchi, and then you can slay the Mizutuzuni. Sorry if I butcher the name of these monsters. And I have a problem with some of these monsters in the demo, to be in fact. Now, the Great Azuchi is pretty much a cakewalk, and it's pretty much a joke when you play that monster. But then if you go ahead and play Mizutuzuni, which is supposed to be, according to Capcom, an intermediate level monster to slay, but in my testing and from what a lot of people are saying, that is a very hard monster to actually slay. And I can say, especially if you are a newcomer to the series and you're testing this demo out, you can automatically tell that that monster is just way too hard. They should have actually said it is a hard monster instead of an intermediate monster because it is very difficult. Possible to beat, of course, but just very hard, especially if you're coming from a background like me that never played Monster Hunter to begin with. Just very, very hard. So it's kind of unfortunate they really don't have a monster in the demo that's kind of like an intermediate monster. It's either way too easy or way too hard, and I'm not really a fan of. And then you do got 2 different quests to talk about all the new little things that are specific to Rise, which I'm just going to cover in this video instead of going through the tutorial. And you can see on the bottom right hand corner, I do have 14 tries left of the demo because I am so impressed with this game. I'm pretty much going to use all my tries up. There's no way I'm not. I've been playing the heck out of this demo. I just love this game, and I don't remember if I mentioned it already. I already pre-ordered this game, and the version I pre-ordered, believe it or not, was actually the deluxe edition for $70 with all the extra things. I didn't get the collector's edition because I don't buy collector's editions to begin with, and I'm not a Monster Hunter fan, and I'm not sure if I would like the game, but I still went ahead for some reason and pre-ordered the deluxe edition of this game. But you can see they do give you a lot of different weapons to try out in the demo. Personally, for me, my favorite one so far definitely has to be the hammer. The thing with Monster Hunter, I feel like, especially if you are a newcomer like me, you really have to find that one weapon that's a weapon that you're ultimately going to like. That's really why I didn't like Monster Hunter to begin with. I never really found a weapon that I liked playing, and I always thought the combat was a little bit too slow for my liking. Personally, but I finally found some weapons that I do like using, and I'm going to roll with the hammer here. And right away, we're going to talk a lot about this game right away. I will be beating this monster, or at least attempting to beat this monster in this video, but first and foremost, let's go ahead and actually talk about the engine this game is running. So first up, we have the engine, which is the RE engine, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure that this is the first game on the Nintendo Switch to actually use the RE engine, and from what I can say safely, I think this game is very impressive. Is this the best looking game on Switch? I don't know if those claims are true, but this is definitely one of the best looking games on Switch, at least when it comes to Nintendo hardware. You guys know Nintendo hardware is very underpowered, and so for a game to look this good on the Nintendo Switch, this is a pretty nice thing, and this is awesome. Of course, this game doesn't really hold a candle visually to what Monster Hunter World looks like, but again, we're talking about the Switch, so that's okay. This definitely beats Generations on the Switch without a doubt, at least when it comes to fidelity and the graphics department. This definitely blows that out the water. Another thing to note as far as the performance of this game, I've been looking up the performance, and apparently from what I'm seeing, this game pretty much runs at a solid 30 frames per second. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize, but from what I'm seeing, it runs at 30 frames per second, and in my testing, I've had no problems with the frame rate, and I think most people aren't going to have problems with the frame rate. It's very smooth. It's very nice to play. I really wish this game would be more close to 60 frames per second because we're talking about an action RPG, but it is what it is. 30, as long as it's locked, is not really a big deal for me, but more frame rate for a game like this, of course, obviously, would have been better in the long run. Now, one thing to take note of, I've been seeing a lot of people on the internet complaining about how this game actually stutters and lags, and that's only if you have more than 50 friends on your friends list. I know that's kind of a weird thing, but for some reason there's a glitch in this game which allows this game to have a big frame rate issue problem if you have more than 50 friends on your friends list, which I currently don't have 50 friends on my friends list, so I never experienced that problem, but you may run into that problem if you have more than 50 friends on your friends list, which most likely they're going to patch out in the final retail version of the game, of course, and that's probably why they pushed out the demo, just to see if they would have any problems with the game, or there's going to be any thing that they might need to tweak before the game comes out. So that's actually something to take note of. Now let's actually go ahead and talk about the new mechanics of this game, because there are two big mechanics. First and foremost, let's start with your pet, because apparently this is the first Monster Hunter game to have a pet you can actually ride, and you can see right here I did get on it, and you can ride it around the environment, and there's two uses for the pet. One is going to be if you want to ride it from area to area to get to the monster fight faster, especially when the monster flees, and then also you can attack other monsters while you're riding on your wolf looking dog type thing, and it's pretty nice. You can actually do that. So there's the two uses for that. Let me go ahead and step off the wolf. And then the biggest mechanic, which is definitely a game changer for the Monster Hunter series from what I'm hearing, and I definitely like this mechanic a lot, is the wire flies or wire bugs. I'm not sure what they're called, but basically it allows people in the game to pretty much traverse the environment like Spider-Man. If you ever played a Spider-Man game or know Spider-Man, of course, he flings through the air. So basically how you do that is you press the ZL button on the back of your controller, the left bottom trigger, you hold it down, and as you're holding it down, you can see there is a reticle that does come up on screen. It's a little green reticle, and you use the right analog stick to move that reticle around, and once Once you hover it over something you want to move to, you basically press X or A, and you'll immediately do like a Spider-Man web slinging action. And the cool thing is you got two attempts at this, because at the bottom of the screen you can see right underneath my character I do have two little icons, and that indicates how many web slings I have, and they do reset over time. So let's go ahead and hover the icon, the little reticle, over this building, and once I hover it over the building and press X, I should immediately swing to it. I kind of missed my trajectory there, but let's go ahead and try that again. I should be able to get on top of the building right there, and you can see I am on top of the building, and there is a lot you can do with this mechanic. I've seen people stay in the air for practically ever, like Spider-Man, but for me, I really don't know how to do that, because this mechanic is just very complex, and you can do a lot with this mechanic. I also know you can hang in the air as well with this mechanic, but for me, I just don't know how to do it, because there is a timing window that you have to get right, or you won't be able to hit it. So there's that, which is kind of tricky to get used to, but I'm assuming over time you'll get used to it. And then another use for the wire flies or the wire bugs is the fact that it'll give you more opportunities in combat to get combos. So let's pull out my hammer here. I'm pulling out my hammer, and then I press ZL like I'd be ready to use my wire bugs. But instead of doing the web sling action, I'm actually going to do a combo in the air combined with my hammer. Let's go ahead and press ZL plus X. But instead of web sling like I did before, I'm going to do a big massive combo. Once I pull out my hammer, of course. There, you can see I wound up to do the combo. There it is right there, or the big hammer slam right there again. ZL plus X, and there it goes in the air, and he slices down, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. And that's why I think this new mechanic is going to open up so much possibilities in combat, which I'm actually very excited for. I even seen people go off the side of cliffs to even do that. Now let's show off some more of the wirefly mechanic. So here's a wirefly right here. Wait, okay, they're called wire bugs, but let's go ahead and do the wire bug. Get up on here. Once I'm on here, if you do the wire bug mechanic, you can sling up onto a mountaintop, and then once you're on a mountaintop, you'll start climbing it, kind of like you would do in Breath of the Wild. But the thing is, though, after a said period of time, you're immediately going to fall off or jump off the side of a mountain. But then if you do the wire bug thing again, you can pretty much reattach to the side of the cliff. So let's go ahead and do that again. I'm climbing it. Let me go ahead and activate it again. I'm climbing it. He's going to fall off. And then if I reactivate it again, you can see he reattaches again, which is pretty satisfying and pretty awesome if I say so myself. Another thing to take note is right there, you can see when I mined multiple items at a time, or multiple material. And apparently, from what I'm hearing around the internet, that's a first for the series, which I'm not sure is going to be in the full retail version, but for the demo, it's at least there. Now, one thing to also take note of, apparently from what people are saying, is the fact that this game specifically is going to be a much more smaller game, at least when it comes to the actual environments that you're going to be exploring in. They're not going to be as big as Monster Hunter World, which I know for some people can be a downside, but for me personally, I like that, because Monster Hunter, I always felt like, was first and foremost always about hunting a big monster. And if you're going to be hunting a big monster, I always thought, why put a lot of things in the environment, or why make the world or the area you explore very big, because then it's just like extra stuff that doesn't make sense. Because you have to realize Monster Hunter is not the same thing as like a true open world game like Breath of the Wild, Red Dead, Grand Theft Auto, Witcher, etc. It's more of like a game that's kind of just about hunting a big monster and killing a monster. So why make the world so big? Because there's nothing you can really do in the world. That's just me personally, coming from my past experience of what little I played with Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter Generations. That's just me. There may be more to it than I actually think, but at least from what I played, I didn't really think there was too much in the actual environments. So if the game's worlds are much more smaller, for me, that's not a negative. But let's go ahead and attack some of these monsters in the actual world, because these ones are actually very interesting, because when you pull out your hammer and you actually hit these things with whatever weapon you have, of course, they will actually roll and explode, which is kind of funny, and it's kind of satisfying to kill these little creatures right here in the environment. And then you can see also there is an arrow leading you towards the monster, and apparently that's not the case with Monster Hunter in general. In general, with other Monster Hunter games, apparently you have to go down and trace the monster, which, of course, most people probably kind of like, because it gives you some sense of exploration, and you really don't know where the monster is. Are they going to keep that in the final full retail version of the game? Are they going to have an arrow that points you to the monster? I have no way to know, but at least for the demo, they guide you directly to the monster. Now let's actually talk about, should you buy a Nintendo Switch for this game? I know this is kind of hard to say at this point, because this game is fairly new, and this is only my first impressions, and this is only a demo. But from what I can say, for me personally, you can see I already pre-ordered this game because I'm so excited for this game, and I'm not even a Monster Hunter fan. What I can say is you'll have to make that decision for yourself by checking out the demo. I highly recommend checking it out as soon as possible before February, and then you can kind of make your choice there. But I can see a lot of people who play things like Monster Hunter World or some of the older Monster Hunter games really buying a Switch just for Rise if you haven't played Monster Hunter. And honestly, I would say go ahead and pull the trigger, because if I'm buying it and I'm not a Monster Hunter fan and you are already a Monster Hunter fan, there's no downside. You're probably going to put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into Monster Hunter Rise. And then on top of that, you do get access to the older Monster Hunter Generations, which is older and it's kind of hard to get into. But if you are already a Monster Hunter fan, it just means you have an extra game to actually play if you ever do get tired of Rise, or if you just want some variety. You have 2 Monster Hunter games on Switch, which is already a plus side. There is no downside to this. Let's see if I can actually hit this monster and do some pretty massive damage on this thing. Another new mechanic, which I didn't cover at all yet, is you can actually control monsters in this game. Like, you can actually ride them around kind of like a vehicle, and there is a couple of uses for that. One, you can actually have them attack other monsters when you're controlling them, and then 2, you can actually bash them into the wall while you're actually controlling them, which is actually pretty satisfying and pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of like a Godzilla fight or something like that, where 2 big monsters are fighting each other. Let me see if I can do it here, but you can see I just did the mechanic here. I am fully riding the monster, and you can see in the bottom right hand corner of the actual screen there are a couple of things you can do. I can move around the environment, I can attack, or I can launch monster into a wall to do massive damage. And you can see on the bottom of the screen there is a little clock that indicates how long you can control the monster before you have to get off the monster and no longer ride him. So that's actually very cool, and I think this is one of the most satisfying things in the game besides the actual main combat. This thing is just so freaking awesome, having big monster battles like you would do in Godzilla. This is just so, Godzilla. This is just so freaking awesome, and I love this. Let me go ahead and try to attack some of these creatures right here if I can get close enough to these creatures. And this one is going to be a mechanic also. I feel like it's going to be a big part of the game as well. It's not going to be something you just brush off after a while. And then let's go ahead and launch the monster into the wall. You can see I did 33 damage to the monster. Just note, right after you smash them into the wall or launch them into the wall, you can no longer control them, so just keep that in mind. You pretty much want to keep riding them as long as possible to attack other monsters, and then when you're completely done and you're almost out of time, you want to smash them into the wall to do a little bit of extra damage. You can see I fainted there, and these bosses aren't too hard except for the other one, the intermediate boss. The only reason I really died was the fact that I'm talking, and it's kind of hard to talk and play at the same time, at least for me personally. Another thing that I find very interesting about this game is apparently this game already has 1+ million copies already pre-ordered in Japan, but that shouldn't really shock anybody actually, just due to the fact that people in Japan love their Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter is like one of the biggest franchises in Japan, alongside another franchise I forgot the name of. Dragon Quest. Yeah, there you go, Dragon Quest. I was trying to think of the name of the franchise right away, but Dragon Quest is definitely another big franchise in Japan that a lot of people really do love. So I can see them really gravitating towards Monster Hunter Rise. Because for one, it's Monster Hunter, and two, people in Japan love their Monster Hunter games. And they love their Monster Hunter games in portable mode. If you didn't know, Japan's preferred way to play video games in general is handheld or portable gaming. They love their portable gaming. So to have another Monster Hunter game on a portable system, which they haven't had in a while, of course, since World, that's going to be very impressive for the Japanese audience. And a lot of people are expecting this game to actually outsell Monster Hunter World. Is that necessarily going to be the case? That's going to be hard to tell, but first impressions, and from what I'm hearing people say about this game, they love this game and they're so impressed with this game that they're like, yeah, this game's probably going to outsell Monster Hunter World, because from what I'm hearing, this game is pretty much just not really a true sequel to World, but it's pretty much everything that most hardcore Monster Hunter fans really do want out of the franchise. Sure, this game doesn't look graphically as impressive as World, but from what I'm hearing, everybody loves the new mechanics of this game, and it's going to open up so much possibilities, and this game's overall just going to be much more funner and have more replayability. Overall, it's just going to be a funner game. Again, keep in mind, these are only first impressions and things like that, but let's go ahead and see if I can actually kill this boss in this fight. But yeah, back to what I was saying. I'm really impressed that I'm actually picking this game up on day one. If you didn't know, this game comes out on March 26th, and I'm actually a little disappointed this game's going to be coming out in a couple months, just due to the fact that I want this game right now as we speak, just due to the fact that this game is just way too fun and way too awesome for me not to wait. Practically, I'm so excited for this game. You don't even know how excited I am. That's practically the only thing I'm thinking about right now through my daily life, because this game is just so freaking awesome, and I've never been so excited for a game than Monster Hunter. And it's weird that I'm not a Monster Hunter fan, but I'm super excited for this game. This game just seems like it does fit me as a person. I love games actually that are very grindy, that are very reliant on like picking up different collectibles, getting different weapon sets, or just different weapons and different armor sets and things like that. And I really think the grind of this game is definitely going to be for me. However, I can agree with some people out there. I don't think Monster Hunter is for everybody. It's easy to get into, I would possibly say, because the concept's easy. You just do little missions and then you fight monsters and things like that. But the thing is, though, it's very repetitive in nature. You're pretty much doing the same thing over and over and over, and some people may not like heavy repetition, but for me, I don't necessarily mind it, because these are good games that you can just like do one or two monster hunts and then put the game down and then call it a day. And on top of that, I really do think Monster Hunter is also a good game that's made for portable systems because of the nature of it. I really do think Monster Hunter is a very good pick-up and play game, in my opinion. And you can see at the bottom right now as well, I did manage to pick up a couple different fireflies or wire bugs, because you can find more throughout the world. You can see I got 3 now, so I can do three different slides, or I can do 3 different attacks right here. Let me go ahead and take this out so this video doesn't get too long, because I'm sure this video is already very, very long. But yeah, final thoughts again. I'm just very blown away. I'm very excited for this game, and I'm pretty sure most Monster Hunter fans are going to be excited for this game. The only downside to Monster Hunter Rise, which is not really a downside, I'm pretty sure this game's going to stay a Nintendo Switch exclusive, unfortunately. Some people are asking, is this going to go away from the Switch and be ported to like other game consoles or the PC? There's still a chance it could possibly come to other platforms, but at the moment, I don't think it's going to be coming to other. There's what I was talking about a second ago. There's some pretty crazy stuff you can do if I'm by the wall. Let me go ahead and try that again. I don't know if my weapon has to. Okay, maybe my weapon has to be out before I can do that. I'm not quite sure how you pull that off, and it looks like the monster is definitely fleeing the area. I also really want to know what they're going to add to the to the full release of this game. If this game's already looking this impressive, I wonder what the full release is going to be. This game is just going to be freaking insane. And I can honestly almost say, too, this is going to be one of the first big Nintendo Switch games of 2021. Why can't I hit the monster? It was like I'm pretty far away from the monster, and I was like, why is this hammer not doing damage? Okay, looks like he's weak. Very, very weak. I can wind up and do a massive damage. Okay. Attack missed. He's almost dead. That should take care of him. I know there's going to be also, when I get this game, there's going to be a lot of things I'm going to have to learn being a new Monster Hunter fan that I already don't know. So it's nice that people already played Monster Hunter. They'll be very familiar with the formula and also very familiar with all the mechanics and little different things. It's going to be, I guess, a fresh of breath air to me, learning everything that Monster Hunter has to offer. Again, this game just looks so gorgeous. It's just so awesome. This game is definitely shaping up to be one of the best Monster Hunter games, or possibly even the best, one of the best Nintendo Switch games without a doubt. This game is just amazing. I know a lot of people also were saying, why doesn't Monster Hunter World be ported to the Switch? And I'm actually glad that wasn't the case, because who needs Monster Hunter World when Monster Hunter Rise is coming out, which seems like it's just overall a better version of any of the previous Monster Hunter games. Oh my god, I'm literally gonna die here. If I can go ahead and heal up. Oh geez, doing massive damage. Oh no. The only thing I don't really like about this game, sometimes it feels like some of the bosses are too hard, or they just take way too long to kill off. But I mean, that's the whole point of Monster Hunter. These fights aren't supposed to necessarily be easy or fast. You can see right there, I did finally defeat the monster right there. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this video and talking all about Monster Hunter. Again, this is just my first initial impressions of Monster Hunter World. And yeah, so far it's looking like one of the best Nintendo Switch games and the best Monster Hunter World without a doubt. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.